Now the handy stitch is free. It still is threaded, but we'll need to thread this again from time to time. So we need to know how to do that. I like to switch it to a colored thread so that when we do our practice stitching on the muslin, it will be easy to see. This one came with 3 thread spools in different colors. There's a black, there's a red, and a blue. Extra needles, a needle threader, and a long bobbin spool for using the other threads or a standard spool of thread. We won't need that for right now, so let's put these away. We're going to use black thread for our demonstration. This needle threader is essential to threading the handy stitch. I've tried it many times. You practically cannot thread the handy stitch without this. Before we remove this thread and bobbin, it's important for you to know that underneath this thread is a spring. Underneath the spool of thread is a spring. You can just see it. When you remove the bobbin and the thread, the spring, because it's compressed, is going to want to expand and jump out at you. We need to be careful that that doesn't happen, because you might find it hard to find if it goes on the floor into a carpet. So we want to very carefully remove this spool of thread, and we're going to do it by pulling on the spool very gently. And we're going to do that by pulling very gently on this spool of thread. And you see we're pulling out the bobbin post, and there's that spring. It just expanded. Let's remove that for a moment. There it is. Here's the post with the bobbin. Remove the thread, put the bobbin to the side. And I'm going to remove all of this thread and show you how to thread it from beginning to end. After that, I'm going to show you a shortcut. The bobbin is wound in a certain direction. On a standard sewing machine, it's imperative to put the bobbin in wound in the same direction every time. I've discovered it doesn't make any difference with a handy stitch, so that's great. You don't have to think about that. So let's take our thread. We have a nice tail. I'm going to slide the bobbin post through the thread, take the spring, gently lay it on the hole where the thread post will go, and we'll just lift that. I'm going to slide it into that hole and press the post in as tightly as possible. The purpose of that spring is to keep this spool unwinding freely. At this point, we're going to thread it through this thread guide. If you need to moisten the end of the thread, you'll find that to be a big help. Next, it goes through the tension guides. Now you can see there's 2 little discs here. The thread goes in between these 2 discs. It doesn't get wrapped around it, it just goes in between it. Underneath the needle arm, very difficult to see here, is another guide. And this is an important guide as well. And you can just barely see it. There it is. It's right behind the needle. The thread needs to go through this guide from top, front to back. I've tried using the needle threader to pull this through, but it works better just to use your fingers. There, I've got it through.